Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a look at an upcoming release from Button Shy, coming to Kickstarter soon, and this is Adventurous, designed by Dustin Dobson and Milan Zakovic. This is a design duo who has done a lot of Button Shy games that I loved, and so when I saw their names attached to this, I was really excited. In Adventurous, you're going to be taking control of this Greek vessel, going along this adventure, seeing these mythological creatures, and trying to avoid these dangerous encounters along the way. So, in this game, you're going to be taking control of this ship that is represented by this card here that is also going to be our starting place where we are going to build out our route from. The rest of the cards in the game are going to be double-sided. One side is going to have a marvel, which are kind of these like landscape or these fantastical things that we are going to see while we are going on our adventure. The other side of the card is going to have a map on it, and these are going to be the cards that we are placing out, building out our ongoing route as we play the game. So each of these marvels is going to be broken up into either a tier 1, 2, or 3, and that's going to kind of represent the how dramatic or how dangerous these marvels are, and it's going to also affect the difficulty of our game. So I'm going to be setting up a seasoned difficulty, which is like a step up from beginner, and in that game we are going to take 2 level 1s, we're going to take 2 level 2s, and you take 1 level 3. You just take them at random. I shuffled these up before we started, and that's going to be your Marvel deck for the game. You shuffle this up, and you're going to put it to the right of your ship, and I'll explain how that's going to impact the game in a little bit. But now the rest of the cards are going to get shuffled together, flipped over, and this is going to be your map deck. So these are the actual cards you're going to be placing as the game goes on. So the last thing we're going to do as part of setup is that we're going to take our Marvel deck and we're going to deal the first one, and this is going to be our active Marvel. Now the active Marvel is important because on our ship you're going to see here that if the active Marvel is a level 1, 2, or 3, it's going to impose some additional rules on how we can place our cards. And this is going to kind of tie into the difficulty, right? The more level 3s you have, generally the harder placement is going to be. And this is kind of a nice mix of 1, 2, and 3, so it's challenging but not too difficult. So you can see here every tier is going to have a different rule, and a level 1 is our currently active one, and the rule for that is going to be marvels on top of the Marvel deck may not be discovered. And that probably sounds like a lot of gibberish, but it will make more sense once I explain to you kind of how placement works in the game. So we're all set to start here, and now on your turn you're going to be able to do one of two things. You can either explore, which is going to be placing cards from the Marvel deck in front of your boat, or you could discover, which is going to be placing cards from the Marvel deck on our right here. Now at the start of the game, you can't place any of these yet, so you're going to start with drawing cards from the map deck. Now there's two ways that you can draw cards from the map deck. You can either draw from the top, which obviously you can see what you're getting there, or you can draw blindly from the bottom. Now, what's going to impact your kind of reasoning for why you would want to take one card over the other? So an important feature on these different map cards are going to be the encounters, which are these different icons that you're going to see on these cards. There's 4 different types of encounters. There are these krakens, there are tridents, there are whirlpools, and there are these shark fins. And so each of those encounters are going to be important in a couple different ways. Maybe most importantly is that there is a threshold at the end of the game of how many of those encounters we can have on our map without having an instant loss. So on our ship card here, you can see there's a shark fin, a kraken, and a trident. So we can have 4 sharks, 3 krakens, or 2 tridents. If we ever have more of those at the end of the game, you instantly lose, you don't score, game over, you got eaten by sharks, it's all done. So we want to make sure we don't have any more than the threshold at the end of the game. Now there's going to be a couple different ways that we can cover them up and kind of manipulate things so that we are avoiding placing them. But they're also important because they are what's going to enable us in order to place our marvels here. So on the bottom right of each marvel, you're going to see that there's a couple different encounter icons. If we look at Shipwreck Isle here, it has the Kraken icon +1. And what those icons mean is that if we want to place this marvel, we have to cover up a Kraken icon +1 of any other encounter. The Tempest here has a Kraken, a shark fin, and a +3, meaning that we have to cover up at least 1 Kraken, at least 1 shark fin, and 3 of any other encounters. Now with the shark fin, kraken, and trident have specific thresholds at the end of the game, you'll notice the whirlpool isn't on there. That's going to be -3 points for every whirlpool you have at the end of the game, so you want to try to avoid those as best you can. You're also going to score negative points if you don't place all of your marble cards. So it's important if you want to get like a winning score, it's really important to place all these marble cards. It's tough to overcome that negative that they give you. And if you're enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing to join the channel. I do a lot of previews, a lot of playthroughs, a lot of reviews, and all sorts of board game content, and I would love to have you on board. Anyway, back to our Greek sailing adventure. So with all that out of the way, we're ready to start building our adventure route. So looking at this, I need a kraken and at least one other symbol. And so I'm looking at this over here. That's looking like a pretty good set to cover up to begin with. So I'm going to choose to draw this card. And now I could either take this card or I could take one from the bottom. Looking at the Tempest, I'm going to need some shark fins. So just for the heck of it, I'll take this one as well. Now, when you place your cards, it's pretty intuitive on how you place them. In general, as long as you are moving your path forward, it is a legal movement. The very first card, one important rule is that you have to cover up this first waypoint, which are these different stars. You got to cover this one up at the very beginning of your game. So I'm going to take this one here and I'll place it over this one. Now every subsequent card is going to have to increase this beginning path here. You can either cover up the next waypoint, increasing your path the longest amount, or you can choose to cover up these dashed lines. As long as you're increasing the path, you are good to go. You can't place it here because this would kind of break the path here. So looking at my path here, I'm gonna keep extending it as long as I can because each of these dashed lines is gonna score you additional points at the end of the game. Now that I've placed my 2 map cards, I move on to my next turn. At this point, I could draw 2 more map cards and place them, or I could choose to place a card from the Marvel deck. Now, I can't play from the top of this deck because that's the rule for the level 1 Marvel, so I could only place Shipwreck Isle. However, if I played Shipwreck Isle, the level 2 card would become the active one, and that's going to add an additional placement restriction on my game. So I'm actually going to choose not to place this yet. I want to set the map up so that I could place this, and then immediately place the Tempest card on the next turn so I don't need to lose out on points from the level 2 Marvel rule. So I'm looking for a Kraken, so I'm going to draw blindly from the bottom. So that had a Kraken icon, which is sweet. And then I could either draw from the top or I could draw from the bottom again. And I'll just draw from the top. So now I'll move into placement, and I want to set it up so I'll have a Kraken, a shark fin, and at least 3 other icons. So I'm going to shorten my path by 1 here, because that's going to give me a nice spot where I can place this Tempest card on a future turn, which I'm pretty happy with. Now I got to place my second card, and I don't really have a strong preference of where this goes because I don't really have a good path of where the rest of my cards are going to go. So I'll just stick it over here for now. Okay, so next turn, I am now going to start placing some of these Marvels. So Shipwreck Isle, it requires a Kraken and 1 other encounter, so I could cover it up there. You can always fulfill more than what it needs, you can just never do less. And then that's going to cause the Tempest to become active Marvel. Now the rule for the level 2 Marvels is that each map card must cover at least 1 path segment when exploring. So you always have to shorten your map card by at least 1 if this is the active one. Which is annoying, right? Because you're going to be denying yourself points by not making your path be as long as it possibly could be. Although it's a little bit of a twist here that our Ghost Ship card was just revealed. And so this is going to mean that we have to cover a Whirlpool, a Shark Fin, a Kraken, and a Trident, and we must not cover more than 2 encounters of the same type. So we have to do at least 1 of each, but we can never cover up more than 2. So that is that's a little bit of a tricky spot of where we need to put it. Actually, do we have a viable place? Whirlpool, Trident, Kraken, Fin. So actually, maybe we just place the Ghost Ship right now, because we can either play the active or the one from the top of the deck. Let's play the Ghost Ship. Let's just get rid of this. I'm scared of the level 3 placement rule that we can never cover up Whirlpools, which is kind of annoying. So I think I'm just going to place that. So with our Ghost Ship played, we can move on to our next turn. I want to set it up so that we can get rid of the Tempest. So I'm going to draw this card, and I'll draw this card as well. Okay, so I need at least a Kraken, a Shark Fin, and 3 other icons. Our map's getting a little weird here. It's getting a little weird. I have to also shorten it by 1 because the level 2, so I couldn't place it on top of this waypoint. I'd have to cover at least 1 dash line. So I'm going to place it there. So where do I want to place this second card though? All right, I think I'm going to place it here because I think that'll open up a couple options for placement later. So right now we are kind of going crazy on icons right now. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 5 shark fins. We got to try to cover up at least one of those before the end of the game. So this one needs Kraken, fin, and 3. Kraken, fin. So can we place it here? No, we'd be 1 short on placement. This one needs the same thing. It needs a trident and a fin and 3 others. That's the same thing. We'd have 1, 2. Yeah, okay. So we got to place another 2 cards. And I got to set up some little crannies for our level 2 cards here. So if I put that there, that'll give us a good spot for the Harpy Cliffs. And if we kind of start going back down, maybe? Oh, we're going kind of long here. Here. Okay. All right, let's place those 2 there. And now we can place some marbles. So we're going to play our Harpy Cliffs, which needs a trident, a fin, and 3 other icons. So trident, fin, and then 1, 2, 3. We're covering up way more than that, but that's kind of intentional there, which is good. So now we want to play our Tempest. And here, that could be Kraken, fin, 1, 2, now I'm 1 short. Or we could play our Coral Labyrinth, which I think we're going to play the Coral Labyrinth just for the sake of it. Why not? Because I could stick that there, and that will cover up a bunch more of the icons. Okay, so we're down to the last few cards. I'm just going to take 1 from the bottom, 1 from the top. I really got to place this Tempest. So let's place that there. That we still have to follow this rule of shortening our path, which is a pain in the neck. And let's place... Oh man, where do I want to place this card? Not really. There's no places I want to put it. I think I'll just stick it over here. All right, we're kind of stretching out, I think, my camera space here. I got to be careful. Okay, last 2 cards, and we need to place this Tempest. So let's put this... let's put this card here? No, because I need more space. Let's put this card here and stretch this down a little bit. And then we could stick this guy here. And we have a nice spot for the Tempest to cover up a Kraken, a fin, and at least 3 other icons. 1, 2, 3. So we'll stick that last guy right there. Okay, so after placing our last Tempest, we do our threshold check. So do we have more than 2 tridents? No. Do we have more than 3 Krakens? No. And then do we have more than 4 shark fins? 1, 2, 3, 4. Oops, I guess I didn't keep track of these shark fins. I was getting so flustered over here that I kind of lost track. So in this case, we actually would not score at the end of the game. So let's pretend that I played better and I didn't get a shark fin here. I'm just going to tell you how endgame scoring would work. So you get 1 point for each visible path segment. So it's each of these dashed lines. So you count each of these dashed lines. You get 2 points for every encounter symbol visible. So that's each of these guys, you get 2 points. So that's kind of like a little push your luck where you want to have a couple of them because they score you points, but not as many as I did, because then you would immediately lose and get eaten by sharks. You score 5 points if all of your marbles are placed, and you lose 5 points for each unplaced marble. So it's really pretty tough. If you don't place all your marbles, you lose 5 points each. And then finally, you lose 3 points for each visible whirlpool here. So after you add and subtract all of those different factors, you check to see if you hit the victory threshold. So anything below 39 points, you are lost at sea and you fail. Between 40 and 49 is a successful voyage, and then anything over 50 is like a great success, and you did really well. Now, despite my very failed attempt, I have really fallen in love with Adventurous. I think it feels like a very fresh, fun take on the kind of tile laying that a lot of button shy games do. I think I'm really impressed by how well it's able to capture the feeling of building a map, of going on an adventure. What it really reminded me of was the first time that I played Carcassonne, and that kind of like, wow, I built this whole landscape with cities and farms and all this sort of stuff. and you look at your game of Adventurous at the end of it, and even if you failed, it's still fun to see of how you built this map, of how expansive you can make it, of how you manage these different threats. It feels very adventurous despite being such a compact and kind of puzzly package. I think that the art is just phenomenal. The fact that Dionysus came out last month and they're following it up with this other Greek-themed game is just incredible. They both have very different art styles, but I feel like they both capture a very strong feeling. The kind of adventure, colorful, very like kind of bright feeling of all of these cards just really lend itself nicely to that adventurous theme that they're trying to go for. And so just a really, really nice art package. I think it's honestly incredible if those are back to back, like 2 home runs in like the gameplay and art department. Really good job on the Greek duo here. Really impressive. So if you're a fan of these solo button shy games, I think this one is doing a lot of things that are fresh and interesting. The gameplay loop is really fun. It's really just neat to build out your map and see how things go and feel like you're telling your own little story. It's not narrative in any way, but it is fun to see, again, how you build that map out throughout the game. So really impressive showing, really enjoyed it. And I would highly suggest checking it out. If you are a fan of solo games, of kind of small form solo games, this is a really, really good addition. Just awesome. I loved it. There'll be a link in the video description down below if you want to check out Adventurous, and be sure to let me know if you have any questions about the game in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.